ways to practice, and I want you to just get your build going, drones, get your overlord across the map. So we're doing a ZvT build order. Now, we need you to build more queens by default. Now, I used to, for a long time, not necessarily want to push everyone down the direction of the build I'm getting you to do here, but I have started doing it more just because battle cruisers are so common, and queens just are very good versus battle cruisers. So I'm going to teach you the rule of one gas build here, which is a much more economic way of playing. You also said you've been very stuck in Heart of the Swarm mentality in the past. This is going to force you out of that. So let's rally one of these drones down to take that natural, as you normally would. 17 hatch is fine. Because what we're doing here, the whole point of this build is we're staying very low on gas, and we're going to get our third mineral line saturated as early as possible. So 2 more drones after that. So it's normally 17 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool. So yeah, we're gonna actually saturate your third mineral line mega fast and really utilize this 12 worker start, and also get ourselves in a position where we don't create as much lava as we did in Heart of the Swarm as Zerg plays. We need more bases, we need more hatcheries, or we cannot play a Ling Bane. So this is going to be really powerful for us. Getting a third mineral line up, defending with just mineral units, queens and Zerglings, and basically we're gonna explode into the mid game. Now it's going to be a slower tech style. It's going to be mostly just Queen Ling Bane for a while. And as you get better at the style, you'll find a smoother transition. So Overlord, very nice. Yeah. All right, we're going to pause for 1 second. And we're going to talk about Overlord positioning really quickly. So your first Overlord, I assume you like to sit that on the pillar above the opponent's natural?
I remember, yeah.
Otherwise, you just let it die, or?
Usually, if I just see the expansion, like if it's a Protoss and I see that they have the cybernetics, I'll just pull away and hang around in like the just no terrain area in between the nat and like the base right below it. And just make it an overseer like a couple of minutes later and fly it all over the place.
All right, we're going to go for just a very typical slow Overlord sacrifice scout instead, okay? So basically with that Overlord, you can check that the natural is down if you want, but we're actually going to go up to the right. Now this map's one of the ones where it's most exposed, but basically if you imagine where the Terran puts their production, right, it's all just at the top of that ramp, right, because that's where their wall-off is, and they've usually got all 3 buildings kind of there in a neat little row. So we want to always come in just from the side of that, not from the front of the natural, because that's where, you know, their units are sitting, but just from the side of that. So on this map, can you imagine which direction your Overlord would come in from to just go through that middle area?
Kind of like where the Reapers jump in from?
Yeah, exactly there. So just over from that right-hand side, and hopefully if there's only one Marine, you'll probably get most of a scout of pretty much the entire base, and you'll see if maybe, oh, there's an armory, he's going Hellbats, or, oh, there's a fusion core. Okay, it's going to be battle cruisers. Okay, but the important thing is just to double check. See, oh, there's a 3rd command center. Oh, okay, cool. This one's, you know, being quite economic. Oh, there's 2 factories. Holy shit. There's going to be really fast mech units, Cyclones and Hellions in my base. Okay, let's make roaches ASAP. But it's just something, we don't need to worry about all those reactions. We just want to kind of get the Overlord in position so we can have that later. But after that, there's something else which is really important against Terran, which is your Overlords need, and you should use this against Zerg and Protoss as well, actually. So that's why I'm stopping for this. Your Overlords need to provide vision around your base to give you warning of random 2 adepts shading into your mineral line. I'm sure you've experienced, you just go, what, there's 2 adepts in a mineral line, they've already killed a few workers, and I have no idea where they came from. Same thing with Banelings or Lings just running in, and you're like, don't see them till you're in your base. Where the hell did they come from? Same thing with Hellions, darting in from an angle you didn't see them till the last second. So we're going to, by putting our 2nd and 3rd Overlord out front our natural and out front our 3rd, give heaps of early warning of any very fast harassment units, Adepts, Hellions, Zerglings, and which angle they're rotating from, just so that we can move any Queens and Zerglings to be ready for that. So can you imagine on this map, on that mini-map, where those Overlords would go?
Like the ramp where there's, I think, destructible rocks right in front of the nat, and in between the 2 like pillars in front of the 3rd.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there is destructible rocks. Maybe I hosted an old version of the map. I don't know. Or maybe it's just not showing up when paused. But yes, just out front there and just out front the pillars at the third. Absolutely. And you can actually go quite far out on those overlords even. Just to give heaps of early warning. That'll be really nice. So first overlord, we're going to shift upwards a little bit. And to be ready for that sacrifice. And then I want you to pull this other overlord that's working its way across the map back to out front the natural. And this third one you're building, you can rally to out front the third base. So let's just get that little overlord pattern. And then after that, you can just fill in the gaps on the edges of your base to see, you know, like banshees or liberators coming in or anything like that. But that should be awesome. All right.
So the second overlord I usually use to scout for like, I don't know, like a cannon rush or proxy barracks or proxy stargate or look for the dark shrine. So usually that overlord like goes over to where it is right now and then comes back to the third and over to the base that's a little bit to the left.
I would actually say if we go, we can definitely check around your natural for like bunkers and cannons and stuff. But if it goes straight to out front there, it's going to give you more reliable vision. Like right now, if you'd been proxy raxed on the south side, his Marines could be coming in. He could be building a bunker at your natural, and you'd have no idea about it until this third overlord gets there, which is going to be too late. So I think it's okay to do that, but you could also just easily send 2 Zerglings around the edges of the map to check for DTs and stuff like that if you feel you wanna have that. Because it is actually, I think it's more important for him to stay at home to see cannons on the base, but also if they do one of those cannon rushes that's just outside your natural, it's a bit further back. Not sure if you've experienced that one before. Same thing with, we want to see those Marines and SCVs coming in, because if they can get a bunker like halfway built before we react, we're basically in so much trouble against a 2 racks or 3 racks build. We need to react really fast to that. So just by pulling that overlord over there always, it'll be better for you, I think.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Game resumed.
All right, beautiful. Okay. Yep. So this overlord has just popped out. You can put that kind of up to the left of the third base a little bit, but otherwise we're doing very good. Yeah, beautiful. All right, let's get that link speed going, pull off gas. So let's send a worker over to the third. So a cute little thing is we could have sent that first worker that rallied to our natural. That's our 20th drone. We can send that to our third ahead of time and just hide it behind the third just to make sure, you know, we can get it down without them blocking it. It depends on the meta. Some people are really keen on blocking it, others aren't. But yeah, about 30 hatchery is good. And then we want to, of course, keep building 1 or 2 more drones. And then we want to get the third queen and the overlord as quickly as possible. And we always want to link those 2 together. So it's like you don't make one without making the other. You make the queen, you got to make that overlord right after, so that's going to pop just as these injects pop, and we're going to be good to go.
Okay.
Let's pause for a second here. So let me just get the rule of 1 gas, a couple of links for you. So, by the way, so take a look at your document for now, while we just get all your notes situated.
Okay.
And we've got a couple links for you. So you can start getting those open, and obviously you can peruse these in more detail after today's coaching session. These openings might be very slightly different to how I'm doing it now. So just the important thing is to be consistent with your opening and to not get supply blocked on 36. As long as you get the third hatch down, you don't get supply blocked on 36, we're all good. If people are hanging around always blocking that with an SCV and a Reaper that third, maybe we just wait to send the queen over there with 6 Zerglings, and then we take the third a bit later. And we already start the third queen and the overlord before getting the third base within that little mini meta, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Awesome. So
now
yep.
The overlord that's close to the main base, I just fly it like straight into basically the mineral line. Not all the way, but like midway there and then down to the natural.
So we'll wait for 345 and then we'll send it in. Sacrifice the overlord through the production and out the back. So for me, I usually find most Terrans will hide a fusion core armory behind the main mineral line. So after, I'll basically click over the production area on top of the ramp and then just straight out the back of the base at the back of their main. And who knows, sometimes that overlord survives if they don't happen to have a marine. Sometimes they have nothing that shoots up. So I'm writing here, 2nd and 4th overlord. sit out front, natural, and third. Now this is all matchups. And then your next few overlords will watch for air harass, right? And I think you're already, whenever you build an overlord, you were kind of clicking it on the minimap already to go in the scouting position, from what I could tell, yeah?
Yes.
Awesome. Good habit. Obviously, like later on, we're not necessarily going to do that with every overlord, but you might like build 8 overlords, say, at like 120 supply and just click them, I guess, in the back of your base or something like that, just to get them out of the way, or...
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
If you build like 8 overlords like later, just to like your last 8 overlords, obviously you've already got map vision everywhere at that point. Do you just kind of like click them to the back of your base to get them out of the way, or do you just kind of let them go to your rally point wherever that is?
It varies by game. Like, typically, I try to keep them like where every other race would build in their main base, so that it doesn't block my queen, so I can box it easily and inject.
Okay, cool.
And sometimes, like if they kill a bunch of my overlords and I have to produce like 10, I won't rally them and they'll just go to the middle of the map and die again eventually.
Yeah, good habit. Good habit that is. If every time we build overlords, because I remember in Wings of Liberty, I lost so many games to I'd be like, I'm almost holding this all in, and they'd like be a 10 overlords sitting out front, and they'd just like start supply blocking me, and I couldn't build more units, and I'd be like, why are they always there? So like, yeah, basically I've got like my spotty overlords, and then at a certain point when I don't want any more spotty overlords, like just build 8 overlords. I just click them like on my minimap in the back corner of my main base. It's actually very handy in base trades, because I often will have like these like 10, 12 overlords that get out of my main base or get to the dead space in the corner where they can't get killed by ground units. And that actually does win me some base trades because, essentially the depots survive, right? Whereas the other races can never do that. So that's part of the OP of Zerg base trading. And good stuff. Awesome. So next few overlords, watch for that. I just want you to kind of get a feel for the build. So you can look at either one of those write-ups. I'm looking at the spawning tool one right now that I linked you. But basically, we've got the build. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna go about 33rd hatchery. Yeah, so we can write up some of this a little bit nicer. It's essentially the same sort of thing as what's written there, but I'd actually say I'm a lot more methodical now with how I write my builds, since this is a build guide from like literally just copy pasted over from the very beginning of Legacy of the Void. So there's a lot of great notes in there, but we can be even more exact with it. So basically, the goal is going to be there at 2 base saturation plus back on gas, start non-stop queen production. Okay, that's going to be an important note. Right now we need to get no 4th queen going, because we basically just get the 3rd queen, and then it's non-stop queens only once we get 2 mineral lines saturated and when we put back on gas. So we're going to put back on gas about 3 minutes 30. We've got a 3rd queen on the way, but we do need to start spreading a creep tumor. Now, some people even spread it with one of their very first sets of energy. We've gone for the double inject, which is what I prefer as well. But I notice you're building another queen in the main base. So I think normally I build the queen on the natural, but since you're building it in the main, I would probably grab the queen from the main, and I would put that immediately on control group 5 is your creep queen hotkey, right?
Yeah.
I would put her on 5, get her to the front, immediately put a tumor down. And you've got a lot of urgency here with getting 3 creep tumors out as quickly as possible. 1 going out front the natural, and then 1 connecting your natural to your 3rd, and then like another 1 getting out, front your 3rd as well. And we want to try to always focus. Our whole creep and game plan is all about getting 4 bases up as quickly as possible so that we can have 4 bases, 5 hatcheries, a macro hatch as well, and we can just produce crazy numbers of Zerglings. So for you on this map, I assume you're going to take that 4th down to the left behind the bridges?
Yes.
Cool. So we want to spread creep straight to the left towards that, as well as up to the left in front of it as well, right? To this other base in front of it, and then eventually getting out in front. So that'll be awesome. Other than that, we're just droning, building overlords now. Droning, building overlords, and I'll just keep walking you through this build. All right?
And the queen, so I grab the queen from the main, throw a tumor to connect it to the natural, and walk it over to the 3rd, or just leave it in the natural?
She can sit like halfway between probably, because your third's not going to be ready for a while. Normally, you can get 2 creep tumors down before she goes to spread at the third.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right. So like I said, keep droning and build another overlord as well. Yeah. And if they're ever around, obviously we guard the creep tumors, but we're looking good. All right, keep spamming drones. So we just did an inject. Try to always do a full macro cycle together. If you do an inject,
God save your
then,
gracious
we can do
queen.
that. And as the other queen comes out in the main, we can inject there as well. More overlords as well.
Do you
remember?
think that upgrading that swarm of death beasts was
Okay,
wise?
so it's 3:30. So let's put back, grab. Yep. All right. So you
Game
notice how 3
paused.
drones just came out. So as you get better at this build, those 3 drones will naturally, when you build them, you'll click them on the gas geyser in the main. In this case, they're rallying down your ramp now, so you can just easily box those, put them back on that gas, just to make it easy so your saturation's perfect. All right.
Okay.
Cool. And we can now start building non-stop queen production. And because both bases are saturated, 16 workers on each, you can rally to your third base, even though your third's not finished, and we can start building drones here as well. So even though we start building queens non-stop at this point, if your opponent's not really in your face with Hellions, it's actually like better to just squeeze out a bunch of drones onto that third right away. Even though you feel like maybe you can't defend it that well just yet, the earlier we get drones on that third, the more this boosts our economy. So let's grab these drones, put them on the gas to start, okay?
Okay.
Game resumed.
All right. Very nice. And let's rally to the third base, build a round of drones. All right. And from here, it's non-stop queen production and trying to spread that creep out. Connecting your natural and your third, spreading it out front, your natural and your third. We want to be very clear about those directions. More queens. Let's go. All hatcheries. Yeah, very nice. All right. Awesome. All right, we do need one more creep tumor, so you need to be very clear about that right now, okay? So right now, because you went straight over to your third and put a tumor down there, we should have probably waited and put one, because now the tumor from your natural is working its way to connect your bases. But that means you don't have a tumor going out front your natural. So it's really common, I find, for people to end up with their creep just being like, really like it goes out in one direction, and there's like heaps of other ways that get ignored. Let's try to make sure we still, at least for this early stage especially, are spreading in every direction. So let's make sure that creep tumor changes direction and it goes back out front the natural, and we can use this existing creep tumor at the third to kind of go north and just make sure it just connects the base by spreading once, and then it can go out to the left. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
All right, and with this extra energy you've got at the third, you can put down that third creep tumor I was talking about. And can you imagine where you'd put that one?
Where my, like, facing my overlord?
Yeah, like right on the edge over there. Get it in a head start towards the fourth. Awesome, man. Okay. All right, so let's quickly do that, and then we'll just keep droning and having some good stuff.
Game resumed.
All right, so
Game
very
paused.
sorry for pausing. We're writing down some good notes.
Yeah, that's okay.
We need lings for a Hellion run by. So we've only got 4 lings right now. Normally we'd have 4 or 6. Sometimes you might build a couple more before this point if the Hellions are poking around. But otherwise, we're just going to take 4 minutes 30, this game timer, and we're just going to build a bunch of lings. Now, some people, because your queen's your main defensive tool here, okay? We're going to be pulling your queens to the front. And you could have already pulled the queen from your main and your natural down very easily. If there were Hellions here, they could have already been up front with this other queen at your third, defending those Hellions. But once they get 4 or 6 Hellions, they can run past. So most people, I try to get them to do less slings. I find most players on ladder are like, yeah, I build 36 Zerglings every game to stop 4 Hellions running past. And I'm like, look, you need 36 Zerglings if you want to surround them by A-moving them off creep and they get microed away. But if they're trying to run past you on creep, you don't need that many Zerglings. What's a safe number that you think you'd feel comfortable with just stopping them if they try to run past your queens?
16?
All right, let's go. Yeah, so 12 more lings up to 16 to stop Hellions. So the queens are the trident. They're your spearfishes. If the fish try to dart past, they run into the net. The net is the Zerglings.
Okay.
So we can add those now. You've done a really good job of keeping up extra Overlord production, which with this build is so important, by the way. So I remember you mentioned you overbuild Overlords. It's going to be very good for you with this build because you're going to have a much bigger economy than you're used to.
Okay.
Most people have the opposite problem, which is much worse.
So
Yep.
when do you usually throw down your Evo chambers?
So we want to make sure we focus really hard on just getting 3 bases saturated. And then we're going to go for the gas explosion. So the important thing when we take gases is 3 base mineral saturation. Now, some people look at their third, they go, oh, yeah, I've got 12, 13 workers. That's basically saturated. Let's do it. That's too early because remember, you haven't taken any gas except the one in your main. So you're going to take 5 gases all at once. That is a shitload of drones. That's 5 drones that get eaten by extractors. And then you need 15 drones to mine from those gases. So we're going to hit 16 plus drones on our third, even if we go to 22, 24, before we realize, we go, oh, cool, let's take those gases. We've got a lot of drones on that. And when you do that, because you're going to be taking those gases on every base, we're going to do a little cycle. So visualize this. Close your eyes and visualize just quickly for me.
Okay.
So basically what you do is you jump to main, reset rally point, and take gas. Natural, reset rally point, and take gases. Third, reset rally point and take gases. Do you know what I mean by reset rally point?
So set every hatchery to their own mineral
Yep.
thing?
And that way, because you're still nonstop producing drones, it should balance out that you've got equal drones going to each base, and that fills up their gases evenly. Now, some people will point out very cleverly there, you've only got 1 gas in the main, so shouldn't it end up with too many drones? No, because you're building your Evo chambers and your baneling nest and stuff in the main base. So it'll end up perfectly, automatically keeping your drones on the correct bases. The reason we do this technique is a lot of the time there's Hellions or a BC or some shit being really annoying at this stage of the game. So if we don't change that rally point, and we're like, no, I'll just do it manually. I'll do it better. The moment we get distracted, we end up with 40 drones on our third hatchery. And then we're like, shit. And we've got to like send them all the way back to the main, back to the natural, and like spread them out. It just gets really, really. So this is actually a very difficult, important part of the build. But if we do it, it makes things easier for us while they're harassing.
Okay.
So we're not at that point yet, but basically Evos, baneling nest, all that goes down only after we take the gases. So basically it'll be, we do that 3 base mineral saturation. We then drop a 4th base and macro hatch at the same time. And then we go double Evo and Bane Nest and Lair. Now that might sound like that's very delayed. It is, but part of the way we learn this build is we defend everything with just lings and queens. And as you get better at it, you will get your banelings and your Lair and your Evos at pretty decent timings. We're then only delayed about 45 seconds to a minute from a more normal opening. But when you're starting, you'll probably be 2 or 3 minutes behind on those. It's fine. Lings still beat everything. So you will still win games. It's just you're going to feel like your tech's really late. You're going to have so much more money. It's going to work out. And then we'll steadily work on adding the tech quickly and getting the build down. And we'll get that faster and faster.
Okay.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yep.
All right. So just keep droning for now. Spreading your creep. So that creep on the natural there needs to spread out front the natural now that it's connected the bases. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Looking good. So you got to kind of keep building queens nonstop, getting all your queens to the front on your defense key. And often at this stage of the game, so keep building 3 queens at a time. Queen, queen, queen on that hatchery hotkey. Yep. Yeah, so you want to make sure all those queens are on your, the defensive ones are on the defense key. And often what's going to happen is you're kind of A-moving those from side to side as the Hellions rotate. So your overlords would actually need to be further out. Notice how your overlords aren't really giving vision beyond where they start. So your overlords could be even further out, just to give you more warning, because those queens are a lot slower than Hellions, right?
All right.
We forgot to build the Zerglings because I was talking about so much shit, so let's build those Zerglings now.
Ooh, yeah.
Game resumed.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go through and set the rally points and take the gases. And don't worry about your third being oversaturated, it's all good. So you're meant to take the gases at the same time. So it's take the gas, change the rally point, take the gas, change the rally point, take the gas. So as you change the rally point at a hatch next time, take the gases as well. All right. Keep pumping drones. A lot of people feel at this. They stop building drones at this point. You do not have enough drones. As many as you can get. You can grab some of these drones from the third and send them back, of course, to the other bases. And we can put guys on the gas on every single base. Go, go, go. And you can do that ahead of time. So we see here a habit of only putting on gas once it's finished. You can basically put on gas even the moment they've started. APM is the limiting factor, not efficiency in this build. Put on gas in that main. Come on, didn't finish it. Try to finish everything. Always every base. Yeah. Try to do everything at once. We want to be systematic. All right, we've done the gases. Beautiful. You're kicking ass. Let's go. So look at your money. This is going to be a common sight with this build. So when you're starting with this build, we're going to do 2 macro hatches, okay? Every game. That's what I did for the first month of doing this build. So after the gases, it's 4th base and 2 macro hatches. And then we can go double Evo, Baneling Nest, and Lair. Sounds good?
Okay, both micro hatches in the main, or it doesn't matter?
Wherever you prefer them.
Okay.
Just do it the same spot every game so it's consistent.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Hatchery time. And then double Evo, Baneling Nest, Lair.
My game got stuck. There we go.
That's all right. And Baneling Nest. Yeah, looking good, looking good. All right. So fixed it. Yeah, looking good. So at this point, non-stop Ling Bane production. So what's cool is you've hit your desired economy of 3 bases. Technically, you could put a few more drones in your main base if you want to manually build some. But otherwise, it's just non-stop Ling Bane and Overlords. And we need to get spending our money like real fast. Let's go. Like you've got a machine going. So just spread creep, build Lings, build Banes, inject. Spread creep, build Banes, build Lings, inject. In between that, you can get your upgrades going. And this here is you battling your economy at a level you're not used to battling it. And you're going to lose every time when you're starting. But you will steadily get closer and closer until you learn how to catch up on this money. Get those upgrades going. 1-1.
Yeah, right, yeah.
All your hatcheries should be rallied to your 4th. You're not building drones for that 4th, but we are rallied to it ready to build drones if we get the opportunity. Very nice. We forgot to rally our macro hatcheries there. Okay, you just added them to your control.
I just clicked them,
You
yeah.
just did. Good. You're kicking ass. All right, so start the Bane speed. And what is really important is you have 6 creep queens right now. And between them, they have about 25 injects. We have 2 macro hatches. We don't want to inject those macro hatches every time. We only want to keep injecting the 3 hatcheries, but we've got all this energy, and you can queue up injects. So what we can do is you can send those queens back to your main and queue them to dump every single bit of energy they have on these 2 macro hatches. And these are what we call fountains of lava, because for the next 7 minutes of the game, they're just going to spawn lava nonstop once you've done this, and your queens can go back to spreading creep and defending and all that good stuff.
Okay.
Awesome sauce. Let's do it. So Bane speed first.
Game resumed.
And let's cue those creep queens to, yeah. Very nice. I actually reckon you probably could have clicked that even a few more times because you did that so quickly, but that's cool. And obviously, let's assume we're playing bio. You can get your Spire, but, maybe you go Hydras. Depending on what style you're playing, maybe you get a Roach War in here if it's mech, whatever. But the important thing here is spending that money. So with your macro cycles, whenever you inject, do a regular cycle. It should be inject, build units, don't build drones. You always stop at 3 base saturation of workers. And you just build units non-stop. Yeah. Until you're in Diamond 1, you probably never need more than 65 workers. You just use that 4th base to Maynard workers from. But yeah, you need to be spending that money. So you've got tons of lava sitting there that's not being spent every round. So we're going to pause really quickly. We're going to double check some things, which for a big macro style is really important. Keyboard repeat rate and repeat delay. Did you go through those settings in the info I sent you? You might have missed it.
Yeah, I think I missed that.
Okay, so you in Windows 10?
Yep.
All right, let's tab out here. Let me change my camera. Make sure people don't see the weird videos I'm watching on my desktop. It is a RimWorld soundtrack. It's fine. So you want to go to your control panel?
Okay, so I have a short... one before short on delay and very fast repeat rate.
Yeah, we want them both on the fastest and the shortest possible. So it should be...
Okay.
It's just your repeat delay moves 1 bar, right?
Yeah, it's just 1 bar.
Yeah. Apply
Okay,
that.
so
That's big. So yeah,
Okay.
if you click, it says click here and hold down a key to test the repeat rate. Hold down the Zergling key, and you can just see the difference. Like if you turn those bars back to long and slow, how long it would take you to queue up Zerglings while holding the key down, right? And then the faster we do it,
Right, yeah, it happens actually with the first 2 drones after your first overlord. I usually hold down the drone key for like, I don't know, 5 seconds.
Yeah, even before the thing's ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, this speeds that up, and you can actually go into your registry and you can make that even faster by going into Windows Registry. You can look that up if you want. It's not important. I played without it for years. I literally like 2 weeks ago finally changed that just because the pros were doing it, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. Haven't really noticed that much of a difference. That's because I'm, you know, it won't matter for us unless we're a lot higher. So that's going to help a little bit with holding those keys down. But what's important here is rhythm. So let's have a little theory talk about this stage of the game. So what's important and what's a struggle about this build is rhythm, okay? And I've got a fun little video which doesn't talk about the specifics, but I think just gets you in the right mindset. I'm gonna link that to people in chat as well. Talking about rhythm in StarCraft, and it was specifically talking about Dark in a TVZ where the Terran's being a dickhead. It was beyond, and harassing him and all over him. And I'm just talking kind of theoretically about this idea of keeping rhythm. With this build, obviously we're not Dark, we're not playing against Beyond, but ZvT is a very momentum-focused matchup, and it's one where we need to try and find our rhythm in the chaos. And I talk to a lot of Terran players who are like, this matchup's broken and Zerg's bullshit. I talk to a lot of Zergs who say this matchup's broken and it's bullshit. And it's usually people aren't thinking about the APM restraints, right? So you can watch that video later, but essentially if you put no pressure on your opponent in this matchup, then you need to be mega focused on doing your shit correctly. Like if you don't organize your macro and try to find really organized ways to do things, you'll just be unable to spend your money. And then suddenly they're hitting you here, you're fucking that up, you're missing your creep spread for minutes at a time because they're distracting you with liberators. The moment you start rolling banelings into mineral lines while spreading creep and spending your money, you're like, oh. And the opponent feels like they're being drowned and you're 10 times faster than them. They're like, this Zerg's all over me, this is unfair. He's just clicking banelings into mineral lines and his creep's all over the map. But then there's the game where you're like frozen up and you lose your rhythm and you're like, and you're just not, you're ejecting a hatchery and then you're building one overlord and then you're looking to spread 8 tumor and then you're going back and injecting another hatchery. We're kind of getting disorganized with it, right? So it's very important for us to focus on macro cycles. Is going to be really important once we hit this mid game.
Okay.
Do you have a macro cycle that you think of in terms of like how you organize your spending?
Not really, no. So I'm so used to, like, do you mean for building army units or setting up the macro?
So it's basically the 3 core things that happen no matter what. Creep's a little bit different, though it's kind of part of it, but we'll ignore creep for now and just assume that's a bonus. It's injecting, building, spending lava, so building units and building overlords. I do it in that order, but you can do it in any order. The important thing though is we want to do it all at once, right? We want inject, spend all the lava, build the overlords, and we want it to happen in one real tight cycle every 30 seconds, right? When the injects happen. And that way it's this like rhythmic thing that becomes muscle memory, takes no brain power, and you can actually be watching your minimap while you're doing it. You don't even need to pay attention because you're always doing it in the same order. For me, I always save my last few lava for overlords. Build a shit ton of Zerglings, build the overlords. Build a shit ton of Zerglings, build the overlords. Inject. Some people like to build the overlords right after the injects to make sure they don't ever get supply blocked. But basically, it's making sure that order is something that, okay, I'm building upgrades, I'm building a Bane Nest, taking a 5th, running a Baneling run by in. But there's always that timer in the back of my head. It's not exact, but at a certain point, it's like, I know I need to do another macro cycle. And I go back, inject, build units, build overlords. Cool, let's go do everything else. Run a counterattack, deal with a drop, build an upgrade. Oh, I've been doing all this other shit for a while. I know I need to do another macro cycle. And I go back and that kind of anchors everything in my play. And because I do it in a very systematic way, I can do that macro cycle in like a second and a half. I can get all that shit done. As opposed to a lot of people, like, they start injecting, but then they don't spend the money. They go do something else. An upgrade occurs. Their lava's sitting there. Whenever you've got your lava sitting there, your hatcheries aren't producing more lava naturally as well, so you're missing out on production. So it's kind of like this automatic cycle that we want to root as this core layer underneath everything we do as a Zerg player. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
the only thing that I'm gonna have to watch out for is, like, I usually just add overlords as I get supply capped. So I'll mass produce Roach Hydra as like, you need more overlords, like 20.
Really? I feel like you've been obsessed with your overlords in this game anyway, but we'll see more as we fight. Obviously, roaches chew through supply like crazy. I think everyone gets supply blocked when they're building roaches, right? Like, if I'm really on point, I'm like, build twice as many overlords as normal because I'm massing roaches. I try to make that mental note. But yeah, I mean, just try to have this idea of this macro cycle. And what's really cool is as well, because you have so much shit with this, but it's important you spend your money because your upgrades and your tech later. You're going to need to be good at like identifying, oh, this is a shitty little pressure from him. Move units towards it and go back to macroing. The Hellions poking around earlier. Move your queens towards the Hellions. Go back to macroing. Oh, they're rotated to another angle. Move the queens to intercept. Go back to macroing. And it's very important you keep doing that. Or it's like, oh, he's trying to annoy me with that. That's not worth my attention. Keep spreading creep. Keep macroing. So just trying to find that rhythm at this stage is the big challenge. And one of the ways you can benchmark how you're doing with that is looking at that resource tab. In this game, you just saturated your fourth, so you're never going to spend that resources. First time doing the build and getting used to it, you never will anyway, usually. But yeah, let's get your tech structure down. So imagine you're playing bio. I imagine you want to go mutas. Drop your spire, and let's just try to spend that money, spread creep, and also what's something else? So we do macro cycles as a big part, but what do we do in between the cycles? So what are some of the important things you would think besides just spending the money? So after you spend all your money, what would be some of your high priority actions off the top of your head?
I just noticed I forgot to scout with the Overlord.
Oh, you're never going to do that. I'm talking in your ear. That's like something you don't even need to do. When you're first playing this build, just do the build. And once you understand the basics of the build and you know it, then you can start Overlord sacrificing. Yeah.
Okay. I would start looking for their expansions and see if I can kill anything.
Specifically, how do you look for expansions? How do we do that?
I go look to the third and fourth.
Like what with?
Zerglings, mostly.
Your whole army, or are you sending individual Zerglings out?
So I'll bring my whole army close by, and then I'll send like 5 or 6 Zerglings to each to see what defenses he has, if he has tanks, or Hellions, or Widow Mines, or a wall.
So I think it's a really bad habit of players to kind of scout with their army, where we kind of run around in that ball. It's like, especially if you come from an F2 background, it's very common, right? So
yeah,
it's something where the number of times we're like, cool, well, my army might as well just posture over here, and then a double drop slides into a base, and we're on the far side of the map. We're like, fudge, and we lose a hatchery and 10 drones for no reason, right? There's no reason for us to be out there unless we actually had a good reason to attack right then. So I think what we should focus on more is map control and map vision. So deselecting Zerglings is really key, right? So just sending the lings out to every expansion, every attack path is really useful, right?
Okay.
So just sending individual lings to all their expansions and attack paths. A lot of Zergs lose to Terrans because the game gets kind of messy and drags on, and you see the Terran go and build like 4 command centers on location, and they get to finish and all turn into planetaries without the Zerg seeing them once. And I'm like, oh, a single Zergling on each of those bases would have stopped those going up. Like this is the laziest, lowest APM way of securing bases a Terran can do, and we've let him get away with it. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe that. So just trying to remember that, and also, you know, Ling's seeing when he's moving out and that sort of stuff is key, right? We don't want to, oh shit, he's already on creep. Having good creep makes that not as bad, but deselecting Lings is a big one. So, okay, so other than checking their expansions and deselecting Lings like that, any other things you'd want to be doing between macro cycles? So what are just the other fundamental things we might be focusing on here?
Getting the creep spread towards the next expansion.
Hells yeah. So creep spread's super key with Lingbane, so that's awesome.
And think about the next step, like going to Hive.
Okay, so like tech and upgrades and that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Tech upgrades, progress you build, I guess, right? Progress you build to the next step if we need to. Okay. I guess the final one would be like, you were mentioning like poking around with Zerglings. So I guess we can add backstabs as well, right? So like, you know, set up counterattacks and run-bys and backstabs. So sometimes if like a Terran's being super defensive and giving me all the space in the world, I will go, okay, cool. Well, when this fucker moves out, like I've got so much creep. It's going to be him hitting creep and then another minute before he can actually get in range of a hatchery. I'll send like 60% of my army to go wait next to like hidden up next to their 4th base or whatever. So when they get to the edge of creep, I just run like 30 Banelings and a ton of Zerglings in, because I'm like, well, you've made a fundamental mistake as a Terran player, and you've both given me the freedom to get a big economy and cover the entire map in creep. Whereas if you're more on the back foot, obviously you might just, whenever you find a spare moment, slide a few Lings or Banes in, but you're not really going to be doing too much other than just focusing on your defense otherwise. But that's cool, because like that's a lot of stuff, right? Remembering your upgrades, spreading creep, putting Lings out on the map, obviously setting up run buys. This is all a lot of stuff that keeps us busy. So let's try and do that a little bit here, where first of all, you've got tons of lava. We've just done some injects. So let's build units. You've got 200 supply, so we don't need overlords. So our macro cycle's simpler at this point. So just build tons of Ling Bane, and then do your creep spread, put some Ling Scouts all over the map, add some upgrades or tech, and then do another macro cycle. Inject, 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 build a ton of units, etc., etc. Okay?
And after injecting with the creep spreading queens and the macro hatches, do I bring them back out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they should be out ready. I mean, you should already have enough tumors going in every direction at this point that you don't really need to be actively spreading creep with them, but they're more there to like replace tumors that get sniped down, right?
Okay.
Cool. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be like complicating your macro cycle by trying to inject like your fourth base and your macro hatches every time. Whole point of queuing it up is like keep that macro cycle nice and simple. Just 3 injects, nice and easy.
Okay.
Awesome, man. All right, let's do this. 3, 2, 1, and let's
Game
go.
resumed.
So yeah, spend that money and then just get like the creep spread going, the upgrades, the extra tech, all this sort of shit. So all this stuff that keeps us busy. Putting the Lings out on the map is actually really important as well. So when you get the time, you know, put those Ling spotters all over the different expos. And that can
Idle
be
workers are slow and
beautiful.
tidy.
Game paused.
Okay, so we just did something really weird where we boxed a pack of Lings and sent them off rather than shift deselecting individual Zerglings. So what technique are you using for this?
So I'll just box a few and like send them all to one side. Remove another one, send them all to the other one. Remove another one, send them all to the other one.
But because you've only boxed these Zerglings, you'd need to steal these onto a separate control group first, right?
Yeah, so after I do that, I'll box my whole army again and reset the control group.
Okay, but any eggs coming out won't be with it. So this is a really messy way of doing this. So instead, I'm just going to talk you through it, okay? So just rejoin these guys to your army.
Game resumed.
Wow,
Select your
mind
entire
goals
army.
evolution complete.
Okay.
Okay, so I want you to move your screen to the very top right-hand corner of the minimap so that we're not distracted by anything. So yep, up to the very, very top right corner. I want you looking at literally nothing, yep. So this is there's some dancing Ewoks. But other than that,
I remember when this
we
was
can use the
all
minimap
Windows.
for this. So you're
Now
using
look at it.
your wireframe grid, and sorry,
That unit
guys
has
in
mutated
chat, I
into something
accidentally
even more unpleasant.
changed the scene at some point. Whoops, misclick. It's cool. So basically, yeah, so send a few Zerglings out and just deselect them using your wireframe. And at the end of that, just click your whole army back. So you can send your whole army. No. So send your whole army. Okay, go back. I'll talk you through it action by action. So
Okay.
basically, click in the enemy's main base, right click. And now you need to shift left click a picture of the Zergling in the bottom display bar in the wireframe. Tell me when you've done that.
Like that.
Yeah. And then at the end of it, pull your army back to where it was originally and go Control 2. Beautiful.
Oh, okay. So it's similar, but not. Yeah, this is faster.
It's just faster because we're not boxing. And if you've got eggs rallying to your army before that don't get out to your army, you might have accidentally not boxed
of
them.
minerals.
So this way it's very
So
consistent.
tight.
There's no boxing, and you can do that entirely using your minimap, right? We don't need to even look at our army once. We're using very consistent boxes on the wireframe, which are normally down here for anyone watching the stream. Sorry, I've got the wrong overlay on. And the minimap, which doesn't change either. So that's actually awesome. So can you do that one more time? I really want to just make sure that muscle memory is down, because that's like such an important technique for quickly just being like, oh, grab the army, send Lings out. You can send them to the same bases. That's all good. This is, as a Zerg player, this just helps you set up that vision very quickly and keep your army group organized. So like, yeah, because I can tell you've got good mouse accuracy and stuff from what we've seen. So like techniques like that are so easy for you. You're so quick at that already. That's awesome, man. That'll just be a little bit quicker. Awesome. So yeah, you'd basically just be spending money, doing that, getting your upgrades going. and looking to roll the shit out of your opponent's army.
I
So
remember when this was
just a
all
mindset
minerals.
thing.
Now look at it.
A lot of players have an issue when they're playing this style
Out of minerals.
where they don't recognize how much shit they have, and they're so used to getting their ass kicked by Terran. This is always whenever I'm coaching people. They're just like, and I see these Terrans move forward, start a fight. The Zerg's just sitting there with his army, loses half his army before realizing the fight's happening because for some reason his army's sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Runs away. Then he goes back in and kind of goes, and kind of runs in and out of tank fire. Lets the opponent get the best possible siege up location. And then takes like the worst engage of all time. Often what you can do is literally attack move your opponent's army the second they get to the edge of creep. And you barely need to look at it because you have so much Ling Bane. It's not until they get a really big army, like 160, 170 supply, lots of Widow Mines spread out, that sort of shit. It's not until that happens that you really need to be a lot more careful with your engagements. So if you can hit the macro correctly, get used to having a lot of confidence. So to help you gauge that and get better game sense, watch your replays when you're first practicing this style and look at the fights and go, wait, could I have just fucking rolled this? And try to get a better sense for that. And just by watching those replays and like looking at those, you'll learn the games where you're like, oh shit, I had so much more stuff than him. And yet instead, I stopped macroing because I was panicked and I spent ages running backwards and forwards and all that sort of shit. Freaking the hell out. Like really common. It happens to me sometimes as well. So sometimes just A-moving their army and stopping them wasting your APM is actually the better choice.
It also happens a lot to me where I try to snipe stuff and I end up losing way more without doing any damage.
Exactly.
Because I'm trying to snipe something.
That's so common, man. We all get too fancy. So your creep's really nice on some parts, but we do notice a huge problem, right? Your fourth isn't covered, and this is so common, right? We just didn't spread tumors, and that was probably the most important area. It was over that bridge, or with this other creep that's gone on the high ground. It should have gone down to the left to those other bridges in front to try and get that creep right. Obviously breaking rocks down is great, especially as a Ling Bane player. So if you'd been able to break down any of these rocks on all sides of the map, that would have been amazing. Helps you spread your creep easier, as well as other stuff. But yeah, always make sure that's the most important creep area. Preferably we just spread it on every side, which you did a pretty good job of. We just ignored the fourth a little bit. And this map's terrible for trying to secure the area in front of the fourth. It's so awkward with these bridges, man. I lose this fourth base every time I play against a really good Terran.
I actually have this map banned.
Understandable.
I don't play it on ladder.
We've got a lot of really gigantic maps that are quite easy to survive against bio if you don't kind of mess up too bad, I would say. Last thing, you said you struggle to flank players. So in terms of while we're still in this lobby, let's imagine a push position. So let's go back down to your fourth base. So this is too easy. This is too easy. We're gonna go back down to your fourth base. Let's make it slightly harder, so we can look at technique. If they've pushed to these bridges, so move over to the right. We're gonna be further back, right? So our army's here. Okay, he's just sieged on that bridge. All right, show us how you're gonna split that army. Get the mutas out of the way. We don't need the mutas here. Just the Ling Bane for now. And talk me through what you're doing.
Mineral field.
They're sieging up here.
Yeah, that's right. Just there.
But then that happens.
That was the worst thing you possibly could have done. So you'll notice whenever you attack around terrain, your units stack up on those corners and we get deadly kill zones. So if you keep running around this terrain the way you were doing that, look at the way they clump on any corner they have to go around. You always want to move into the wide open space and be coming in from the wide open angle, even if they have to go into a choke point from it. Anytime they have to work their way like 270 degrees around a corner, you will provide the most disgusting shit. So go back and let's set this up again. You're using dozens of clicks. We're way overthinking it. Get those queens out of there. They're in the way as well. So all we need is two things. We need to box 50% of this army. And then we need to do a shift click. So we need to click north and then over to the left. We don't want it to engage the tanks. We want it to get in position behind the tanks. That's too close. That click was too close. We should have been clicking on the northern bridges. You've moved into tank fire in the Marines. Your Ling Banes are engaged. Not quite there. Just at the base of these bridges. So just on our side of the bridges. But you were just clicking like right in front of those tanks. So you were close. So do it again. So it should just be literally 2 shift clicks. Beautiful. There we go. And the other guys also need to be in position. Because if you A-move from here, the other guys will be really derpy. So these other guys, Too close. You're getting shot by tanks. We should have been clicking behind the gas, behind the hatchery with this side. Yep. Click behind the hatch. Don't worry if you got some drones. It's no worries. Okay, cool. Now they're still a bit clumped up. So how can we make this even better? If we want bonus points, we then spread these units on both sides behind the hatch as well. And this is truly bonus points. 90% of the time, you would not bother to... And then you A-move everything. F2 A-move or number 2 A-move. Bonus points for spreading. Most of the time, literally just getting your army to come from 2 sides is great, right? If you spread as well, that's bonus points. But most of the time, it's about quickly enough going, grab half the army and move it around. Now, cancel all those banelings. Another big problem you're having is you don't have control group stealing set up. So just to make this a little bit easier, I find a lot of players with Ling Bane control their Ling Bane terribly. And a good technique I'm trying to get more and more people in, both for fighting battle mech as well as otherwise, is use that Alt 2, Alt 1 like you've just used, and get used to then controlling them. So sometimes what we would do, let's go imagine our opponent hasn't moved out. We would have one of these on the left-hand side of the map out forward and one of them on the right-hand side. And say he pushes, and not that far out, like kind of still in the middle-ish areas, but up on the right and then down on the left side. Still on the creep, in a central area somewhere. And the idea is, imagine he pushed out this bridge on the left. Imagine a biotank army pushes out there. Now, obviously, if you've got creep this far, you've probably already won the game, because that is a win condition. If you get creep to your opponent's natural, like, you've literally won the game with Ling Bane. There's no way they can win, usually. But right now, army on the left's in a shit position because there's rocks blocking it. So it can't do shit from there. So it's got to be on the other side of those rocks or like up to the side on the bridges. But the idea is if you've got 2 squads, you can basically go, he's pushing down. And rather than just jumping on it with this small squad of units, this squad on the left could pull back and down to the right. Say he's pushing down through this hedge. So it pulls way back, this squad on the left. No, to the left. He's pushing to the left through this hedge. And then your other squad comes down and we do a sandwich. So you pulled a bit too far back down the bridges? No, you're pulling way back. Think about where his army is. No. Your banelings that you pulled on the right, they should be up to the right. So imagine he's moving south through that hedge. Look at where you can imagine his push coming from. So stop controlling your units. I want you to visualize his army coming down through the destructible rocks, down to the left. Just pan your camera. Pan your camera. I'm going to be on your camera. So show me once again where you think his attack path will come. And I'm on your camera so I can see now.
Through here?
Yeah, potentially. Or even down across the bridges, right?
Yeah.
But either way, he's coming down there. So we want this army on the left to be up to the left, still on the other side of the bridge, so it's ready to close the front side of the sandwich. And then as he's coming through the hedge and getting to those rocks, we want to just attack from both sides, right? So why are you running across the bridge? You just moved. That's the R side of the sandwich. No, get back on the other side of the bridge with both sides of your army. This side on the left, you do not need to touch that.
Okay.
That's
so like
the trap.
Here.
Yeah, yes, right there. Thank you.
I was thinking he was here.
No, because those rocks are still up. Let's imagine those rocks. Basically, the idea is you've just got 2 adjusting pieces of bread, right? And he's the salami or the peanut butter or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, if one side's too close, sometimes you can just jump on him because you've got banelings and he's like, it's marine tank and he's not siege. You just like click in it and he's like not watching and you kill his whole army. But more often than not, it's like pull that side back, pull the other side in, sync him up, close the sandwich. And because you're already on different control groups, this is actually so easy to set up. This is if you ever are in a situation where they're not pressuring you a lot and they give you map control, this is the sort of shit you have the leisurely time to set up. Because like they're not doing anything to you. Can you do this if there's liberators in your bases and drops hitting you nonstop? No. But this is what's important is you could be in Gold League or Silver League as opposed to up in the kind of higher end of Plat where you are, and you could still pull off this sort of maneuver in a game where you've got the time to, right? So, never say never. A lot of players, it's too complicated. Doing a surround, that's too advanced for me. I couldn't pull that off the way Cyril did against Hero Marine. We're not playing Hero Marine. Even in GM, I sometimes play Terrans who just sit there and don't pressure, and I know a lot of Zergs don't take advantage of them for it. That's how they're in GM. With their ZvT, with their TVZ, they're just sitting there. But I'm like, nope, set up a sandwich, let's go. They move out, close the sandwich, easiest win of my life. So just thinking about this, this is really nice against Hellion Cyclone styles where they're looking to poke at you and pick at you. You can come in from both sides with Hydraling Bane or even just Mass Roach. It's really good any situation because Zerg armies are always about closing in from 2 sides, right? We're like, what, 50 times more efficient if we're coming from two sides. It's insane with melee units or shorter range units. So anytime you can just get in the habit of saying, if I'm in my comfort zone, I've got a big army and I want a fight, but I'm kind of waiting for my opponent to come to the map, why not preemptively split my army in two halves, have them just kind of sitting on both sides of the map so we can easily get that sandwich set up like the moment they're on the map, well before they think I'm going to be ready to pull off any maneuver like that.
Right. Okay.
Awesome, man. So
I have to practice the stealing thing. It's
well, I linked you that video. I would actually advise you
are fresh out of
probably
minerals at
just
that
go
base.
and set it up so it automatically happens, and then you would literally just need to go, oh, box these units, control one.
so I saw the video.
Yeah.
From your email regarding stealing. I didn't know it existed. So that video.
So that
So-
one, I believe, was it like the coaching video where I talked the person through setting it up as defaults, or maybe it was a Jack Attack video explaining the process.
Yeah, it was a Jack Attack video explaining the process.
Okay, so I have a rapid fire video as well. So, whoops. Let me just grab it from my Twitch chat. Oh. Someone went and edited my command. God damn it, I think. Yeah, one of my mods went and edited my command, I think. That's a shame. Or Nightbot fucked up. Yeah, I had, or maybe it's just in my coaching. I think maybe it's just in my coaching template. Maybe there was two links there. Let me check. Because this is something you can just watch on your own and put into practice, which is really nice. Let me see. Okay, yeah. We'll put this here. So, control group stealing. Yeah, the coaching video is okay. We'll link this up in my command as well. So awesome. All right, so I'm gonna link this to you now, dude.
Mineral field depleted.
Trying to find where I should put this. I'll put it near the top. Homework. Control group stealing. Yeah, I'd advise you set that up as defaults. It just makes your life easy. Same as in that video linked at the top of your coaching document. I'm also just gonna
Out of minerals.
edit that for Twitch
Idle
chat real
workers are so
quickly.
tidy.
Edit command, rapid, and then we can go bam, bam. So that way I can easily find it for the next people. All right, cool. So we've gone a bit overtime. Don't mind that on the first session. That's all good. But we do have to finish up. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to go over multiple matchups, but there's there's a few things here that carry over very well to your other matchups. The Overlord positioning is huge. The control group stealing will help in all matchups, as well as like sometimes setting up the two sandwich armies. If you're playing Roach Hydra versus Protoss, I guarantee you the number one way I lose to Roach Hydra is moving out on the map. Oh my god, that's a big boom. Moving out on the map and someone having their Roach Hydra kind of pre-split and coming in from two sides. And me going, oh shit, this guy's got more Roach Hydra than I thought, and just knocking my army out the moment I step onto the map. So that same thing we just practiced with the Ling Bane, if you do that with Roach Hydra against Protoss, whoo, very, very powerful, man. Really, really powerful.
Awesome.
Write out your builds a bit more and just kind of try and define them. So remember what we did at the start here? Go through and reread all these notes in your document
Definitely.
tomorrow when your brain's fresh, but then also try to like apply kind of the rough same sort of thing for ZvP. Be like, okay, like what's my, okay, I'm going Roach Hydra. Maybe you do like lots of Roach Hydra and then you swap into Mutas or something. It's like real lair tech focused ZvP. You have like a set of rules. Protoss isn't allowed to get a fourth base. We're trying to trade armies or
guys are
units before they get a whole bunch of Storm and 8 Immortals. Like there's like, certain things we're trying to stop them getting from. Sometimes we hit a really fast Roach attack with this, or sometimes we do a big Roach Hydra drop. Just like list out a bunch of different things. Try and define your gas timings, any little details with your upgrades. And then we can hopefully pick that up in a future session, as well as that also puts you in a good position just to ask people on maybe like Reddit All Things Zerg or in a Discord or wherever, any more experienced Zergs, be like, hey, this is my build. And you can really write down a good explanation of it, and you can have obviously more chats with people to get really good advice.
Sounds good.
Awesome, man. So yeah, that's a pretty detailed build. It's funny because like I really like the way you were playing before, as a way for a lot of people to play without having to do such a gigantic mineral focus style. But in the battlecruiser meta, I'm basically like, everybody just, let's do this. let's build 9 queens every game, rule of 1 gas. I think this is going to make you way better off. We didn't mention the spore crawlers this game, but it is in your notes. Remember to build a spore crawler at each mineral line, about 445, if it's any sort of Hellion build. That combined with the queens should be just fine against the BCs. Now, when they hit 3 BCs will beat queens, okay?
Okay.
That's the point where your spires should be finished though, and you can build corruptors by then. Unless they've gone like 2 starport BC, in which case like they can hit that earlier, but that's literally like, they're like, this is all I've got! I need to do damage now! Because they've got nothing behind it, their third's mega late. And in that case, it's just a matter of just survive, build more spores, survive, you know, and eventually you'll get on top of it. But normally, the way it works is like defend the first BC, defend the 2 BCs. As long as you're doing that all right, 3 BCs